Welcome to the No Script Show, where the conversations are made up and the audio doesn't matter.
That was a snipe. That was an unnecessary snipe. Deeply unprofessional snipe.
Well, we are kind of unprofessional anyway, so
Oh, is that how
fine.
it goes now?
I guess it's fine. People understand that.
Okay. All right, fine. That's how it's gonna roll. Now we're just sniping each other from. Anyway, yeah. What is up, Ruan? I'm Wotan, and this is the No Script Show, and it's totally gonna be delivered on time. And by on time, we mean like probably Monday morning because I got a ton of shit to do. But on the upside, you can listen to us for an hour in the traffic or wherever you go, and instead of whatever other shitty podcasts you may listen to. So yeah, let's get right into it, my man.
Yeah, dude. How you been? Because I haven't spoken to you in like 2, 3, 4 weeks. I don't even know actually.
Yeah, it's becoming like we're slowly growing apart. Like if this was like The Sims, like our friendship meter would just disappear completely.
Yeah, but you and I can't handle too much of each other. We know this.
Well, it's probably down to your constant betrayal. I mean,
Name one time I betrayed you. Just once.
literally yes, just the other day.
Okay? And what did I do?
You wait, hold on. I'll have to find it in this
You
Discord.
see, you can't. There is nothing. You have no example whatsoever.
Okay. I'll find a specific example. But if there's an argument or a conversation, you are the type of guy who will vehemently argue the sky is orange, if for nothing else than to rustle my jimmies, and that's okay because guys
No,
fuck with each other like that.
It's because of debate. You know, I don't. My side is not always what I want it to be, but someone needs to debate you. You can't always be right.
Is that why you do it? It
Yeah,
has
man.
nothing to do with like
There's
rustling
never.
my
It's
jimmies.
like there's never an opposing view. So sometimes we just have to give opposing views.
Okay. I think it's partially to do with rustling my jimmies, but okay.
Like I think we had that discussion on the Patriots, and I don't really give a shit about football. But
You would if you knew the Patriots. They're like they're honestly like a team made out of every douchey frat boy in America. Like they all like in their frat prayers just sent the great spirit of douche up, and
So
it
what's wrong with
formed the
that?
Patriots.
like I just want to know what's wrong with it.
Aside from being a douche, nothing really.
Yeah, man. Like if you're good, you're allowed to be a douche about it.
They're just, I mean, honestly, Tom Brady's contract with Satan has to run out eventually. But
With Satan.
Mhm.
Okay. Old Tom Brady.
I'm 100% certain he made some sort of Faustian bargain with the devil. Nobody can have that many championship rings and a supermodel wife and still have like the protagonist jaw of every
Okay,
square
now I
jaw
know
of-
exactly what's going on here.
What?
You are just fucking jealous of Tom Brady.
No.
Now we've gotten to the root of the problem here, dude. I don't think there's anything wrong with anything that you just said about him.
What? It's just that actually, you know what? It's not even the Patriots team. It's their fan base. Their fan base are such douchebags. Actually, you're right. You know what? Tom Brady, if you want to be a square-jawed superstar model, married to a supermodel, fine, whatever. It's their fan base that is just so fucking insufferable. It's just, ugh.
Dude, like I said, that's like with any team for any sport anywhere in the world. I don't care what you say. Especially you guys that like
I don't know.
freaking soccer as well.
Tottenham Hotspurs football team. I've yet to find a douchey Tottenham Hotspurs fan.
You know how many douchey Manchester United fans there
You
are?
will shut your damn mouth right now. You
See
will
what I
not
mean?
speak ill of the Old Trafford faithful in my presence, or I will get on my knees, sacrifice a pigeon, and have the spirit of Bobby Charlton rise from the grave and choke your ass out.
You see, douchey fans.
What? How is that douchey?
There's just every sports team has it. There's just That's just what it is. Except the smaller teams that don't really have a fan base, but there's always that one guy in the crowd.
You should
And
like
then,
Man United. They had George Best, which is like your drinking hero, bro.
okay, I don't really watch soccer, right? But
Hmm.
like, I mean, I understand it, and I watch World Cups and so on. And now and then I'll watch like something in the Premier League, if I'm with friends or whatever. What is this story with Man City that's like kind of been kicked out for like 2 seasons or some shit? What happened there?
What do you mean?
Didn't you hear that they like kicked out of the is the Premier League or something for
I
two
don't pay
years?
attention to other teams. I only pay attention to Manchester United.
Really?
Yeah. See, that's the difference. Like, as a Man U fan, you only pay attention to your team. Everyone pays attention. Like, if I stopped watching Man U games, I would still know the result. You know why? Because people that are not Man U fans are more obsessed with Man U than Man U fans. Every day I go to work, every time I go visit my family and my brother will update. Like, I actually don't even need to watch Man U games anymore. Like, other people will give me the highlights. I'll know we
So
won
you don't even
if
watch?
what do you mean?
You don't even
No,
watch the games?
no. I say I do watch the games, but only Man U. I don't give a shit about what's
Okay,
happening with
all right.
Man City. Like, so if I stopped watching though, if I
That's a weird
just
thing though. Like rugby, for instance. Now that we have Super Rugby back on, I kind of watch all the teams mostly, or I try to. So yeah, that's weird. Yeah, you see, you're just a weird sports guy. But anyway, I see here they've been kicked out of the UEFA competitions for 2 years due to financial fair play violations. I've got no idea what that means,
oh, they
but
probably tried to over because the whole thing about why Manchester City is suddenly good after like 20 years of being utterly irrelevant is because they got bought over by some serious Arab money and they just bought themselves into an amazing team.
nice. I like that. They should give us some money for the No Script show.
Well, as you know, I'm always willing to, take any new sponsors. And speaking of sponsors, I'd like to discuss our first sponsor of the day. Now, let me draw up a theoretical scenario for you, Ruan. Let's say you're a podcaster and your name is, let's say, for example, totally nobody we know, but let's say your name is Mogan Way. And you have a buddy that you build up this podcast with. And your podcast gets kind of popular, gets some traction, gets kind of cool. Then all of a sudden, suddenly, someday you decide, you know what? Screw friendship, screw our fan base, screw everything we've built up. I'm just going to abandon the show. I'm just going to abandon the show. And then I'm going to tell my podcast partner that I'm going to be a quote unquote recurring guest. But turns out that's a lie. In fact, you never come back on the show again. And this breaks the heart of your co-host. And it breaks the heart of the fans. And it disappoints and angers a lot of people.
I feel like this isn't hypothetical.
Well then, well then, in that case, you've probably got a bit of a target on your back, and you might want to protect yourself. That's where Smith& Wesson Firearms comes in. Smith& Wesson Firearms is the premier American firearms brand. God didn't make all men equal, but Mr. Smith& Wesson did. Smith& Wesson Firearms are the firearm when, if you don't want to buy a CZ, which, let's be honest, are also great guns. If you don't want to buy a CZ, you buy a Smith & Wesson because it's just fantastic firearms makers. Smith & Wesson, ask for them at your local gun dealer today.
Dude, my CZ's also pretty good, alright? And
That's
it's
why I said
cheaper.
if you don't want to buy a CZ, then
It's cheaper. Buy a CZ, it's cheaper, guys. Also, you do know that Caitlin Bennett carries, right?
Oh, are we going to get into American politics now?
No, this isn't American politics. This is just frickin' Caitlin
Okay,
Bennett, which
so
is
you saw that clip, right?
yeah, the one where she's like, "You do know I carry, right?"
Okay, so let's
What
set
is
this
what
up.
a stupid thing to say.
It pissed me off so much. Okay, let's set this up for those of you who don't know. Caitlin Gun Girl Bennett is a girl in American politics in the university. She's actually technically not that dumb. Apparently, she has a degree in bioscience from one of the douchiest universities on. No, it's not the Ohio. She went to Kent State in Ohio, but oh yeah, she's from Ohio. Yet another reason why I say the world would be better off without the state of Ohio. or California. But let's not get into it. Caitlin Gun Girl Bennett, she's this girl that rose to prominency from when she decided to open carry her AR-10, I believe it was. And she had like a graduation sign that said, come and take it. And she was like really up in people's faces. And a lot of people in the firearms community were kind of sweetened by that. And I thought it was interesting when I first saw it because, as any of you know, myself and Ruan are very, very pro firearm. I was like, oh, okay, interesting. So this girl rises to prominency. And now recently, and then I think she worked for InfoWars for a bit.
Yeah, she did, yeah.
And now she's working for some other company, but she's also working to ruin my favorite Twitter account, Liberty Hangout, which used to be a libertarian Twitter account, which is now like a full-on neocon account. Like
Exactly.
full-on, and
Exactly.
that's fine. That's fine if it is. Just stop calling yourself libertarian and liberty. Just admit what you are, and I'll be fine with it. My issue is that it still makes overtures or pretenses to be a libertarian account. It's not. Caitlin Bennett's running it. Everybody knows that. She's admitted it. And they tweeted something the other day. They tweeted basically something to the effect of, it's better to live under a Christian monarchy than it is to live in a liberal democracy. Oh my God. Any of you, please tell me, how is that even remotely libertarian? Seriously. Anyone,
Yeah, dude. But
anyone,
she is just
anyone.
cringy, dude. She's
anyone.
so cringy.
Another beautiful tweet. I would rather vote Trump for president for life than have another Democrat in the White House. Really, Caitlin? Really? President for life? There's a word for that, and it's not president. When you're president for life, you are no longer president. That is by definition no longer president.
Yeah, and not democratic at all.
At this point, fucking Liberty Hangout has as much to do with libertarianism as the movie World War Z had to do with the book. It's basically just a name association. That's it. That's fucking it. But back to your point that you raised. Caitlin Gun Girl Bennett. This video surfaces of her at some protest where she's reporting on. And she basically makes some little remark to some protest to sort of like goad her into getting aggressive. Now, granted, no word should make you want to get physically aggressive with somebody, but still, Caitlin's in the wrong here by actually starting with that whole,
She's looking for it. She's trying to make them get aggressive. That's what I don't like about her.
Exactly. And then as soon as they do, she says, I carry, right? As in, I conceal carry. I would like to send the biggest fuck you to Caitlin Bennett for this.
Not just that, dude. Like, have you seen the bodyguards that are actually around her?
No.
You don't see it in the videos, but if you see other people's photos, like there's like massive bodyguards around her all the time when she goes.
Really? Very brave, Caitlin.
But you never see it in the video, so it always looks like she's being like really strong and
woman.
And in
so
people's
she's a fraud.
faces. But no, she's a total fraud, man. I don't like her at all. I just don't like anything she represents. I don't care that she's a gun advocate. The fact remains that she just brings this cringe to it, which makes us gun owners look like freaking idiots.
Exactly. Her in that situation where she goaded somebody into getting aggressive with her and then threatened that person with her firearm. If I was Gun Free SA, that stupid Twitter account Gun Free SA, or if I was the American version of Gun Free SA, I would clip that video and run it as an advert for the next year. Because her doing that in that moment perfectly played into the stereotype that anti-gun people have of gun owners, in that we go out looking for trouble. That is why I'm so pissed at her, because she's now played into that stereotype perfectly, and she's fucked over so many people.
But I want to get more into. You were mentioning the other day that you need to defend her on something.
Yes. Okay. So
let's get into what you need to defend her for, because I feel like she never needs defense for anything. She carries, so she can defend herself.
So Caitlin Gun Girl Bennett, there was some meme about her shitting her pants at some point, by the way, side note. So Caitlin Bennett goes to, I can't remember what university it is, but she goes there to report on the protest there with a guy by the name of Joel Patrick. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
No.
He's sort of this Joel Joel Patrick. He's a sort of conservative, black conservative commentator. He's what Candace Owens wishes she could be if she wasn't such a grifter. Anyway, Joel Patrick, I like Joel for the most part, and he's a nice guy. So the two of them go to his university to some protest to report on it. And again, this is the information we have right now from everything I've seen. Basically, as soon as they arrive, a couple of people notice and recognize who they are, and these protesters absolutely swarm them. They're throwing shit at them. They're physically getting aggressive. I'm surprised Caitlyn didn't whip out her gun, but anyway, they swarm them and they just thing. And so Joel and Caitlyn sort of have to retreat to the van, and even with the van going, they still have to like cower in the van, and the van drives off. So here's my thing: the reason I'm defending Caitlyn, partially, but also Joel, is that in this particular situation, she actually hadn't done anything. They just showed up and immediately the swarm attacks him. Now, Caitlyn's cringe as fuck. In fact, I almost want to take Caitlyn out of this equation and just defend Joel, but technically both of them were attacked. They
Yeah,
didn't
but we also
do
don't know what
anything.
happened before the video started, right?
That's what I'm saying. From this information we have now, I can't find any more information. So I'm saying, if the situation is that they literally just got off the van and some people noticed and whipped up the gang to attack them, if that is the situation, if that is the whole truth, then I say, then technically, actually, I would defend Caitlyn in that particular situation because she hadn't actually done anything wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really look at it, but
That's a
in
big
general,
asterisk if, by the way.
yeah,
If
yeah.
that's the whole situation.
I in general just don't follow her because she just adds no value to me whatsoever.
Neither do I, but I follow Liberty Hangout for some reason. Oh, actually, I stopped following it. But I saw this video because somebody I follow liked or retweeted it, and I was like, oh, okay.
Damn. Well, okay, so there's some defense for
If
Bennett,
that is the
but
situation, again, big asterisk if, because we all know how these things can flip around and information can come out.
yeah. To be honest, I really don't care whatever happens to her, just because she makes shit everywhere she goes,
She
and
does
she
it.
goes there to make shit. She's not there to have a conversation. It's like these guys that do CrossFit, and they just need to tell you how good CrossFit is, and you're not interested, and they kind of force you to know.
Meal prep, brother.
Yeah, dude. Okay, so yeah, I think that's enough for Bennett because she just irritates me. Just hearing her name,
Makes me want to vomit, actually.
yeah, it does actually.
Yeah.
Um, and then you were talking about Walsh as well.
Oh my god, Matt Walsh.
So what's going on with Walsh?
Okay, so you know who
And why do you have to defend Walsh?
Technically, not really. Okay, so you know who Matt Walsh is, right?
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, Matt Walsh works for the Daily Wire. He's there along with the likes of Andrew Klavan and Ben Shapiro and all that gang. I like a lot of their podcasts. I hate Matt Walsh's podcast because he's basically the cringy. He is to like Christian dogma what Caitlyn Bennett is to gun advocacy. She just makes it cringe. He's like pure Christian cringe. He's your annoying.
But even the way he looks, he just looks cringy as well. I don't know why.
Yeah, he's your annoying, grouchy, fucking uncle at the braai that you don't want to talk to at all. Like, he's pure Christian cringe, I call him. And basically, him and Shapiro were talking on Twitter the other day, and they were basically saying, you know, it's, again, full disclosure, I'm a pretty ardent pro-lifer. So technically, I'm on the same side as Shapiro and Walsh as being pro-life. But basically, Walsh managed to say something along the lines of, if you're a pro-lifer and you marry or date somebody who's a pro-lifer, and I mean a pro-choicer, and they end up getting an abortion, well, then that's on you. But the way he put it is like, you deserve to have your child aborted as a pro-lifer if you date somebody who's pro-choice. I'm like, Walsh, obviously, on a base level, you should date somebody who aligns with you. Like, I know that I will probably only date seriously pro-lifers. But when you suggest or allude to the fact that, oh, too bad, sucker, you're going to get your kid aborted because you don't choose who you fall in love with, by the way, Walsh. I dated a fucking vegetarian atheist for like 2 years, okay? Believe me, it was not easy. You don't choose who you fall in love with, and maybe you just happen to fall in love with somebody who is a pro-choicer. All other flaws aside, even though you technically should date within your own sort of worldview. The way he put it was so fucking cringe. So when I say defend Walsh, I say technically he's right in his intention of saying, if you're a pro-life or if you're a really hardcore vegetarian, you should probably date somebody who's... But the way he put it was so fucking cringe, I just wanted to bash my own fucking skull in. It was just... Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, man, I just hate that. Like, there's no need to even say that, number one. Number two, why are you even saying it that way? Like,
he basically said, yeah, you deserve to have your kid aborted, even if you're pro-lifer.
That's
I'm like, because you dated a pro-choicer, so I'm like, fuck me, you cunt. Like, yes, we agree in that we're technically both pro-life, but you just are so cringe about it. It's just...
Yeah, dude, and I mean, like you say, you don't know who you're gonna fall in love with in any case. And yeah, you're just not going to be with someone because they have a different opinion on something than you.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't want kids and your partner wants kids, I don't think your relationship's going to work.
Oh yeah, and I've heard of people who do that. They're like, and they start out thinking that eventually they'll change the other person's mind.
Yeah, but no, that never happens.
And maybe you will if you start dating when you're like 17. But if you're like 25 plus and you don't want kids, I think at that point you're pretty sure on it.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, your relationship probably won't last if it's something. I mean, unless one of you are willing to back down on your on it, you're probably not going to work out. That's for sure.
Yeah, and it can vary. Like if you just disagree on how many kids, that's something you can.
That's different, man.
That's something you can negotiate on. But if somebody flat out doesn't want any kids ever, and they're like 27, I think they've had enough time to mature and know that they don't want any more kids, or any kids. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so that was just Walsh being a freaking idiot, but he's an idiot a lot of the time anyway.
I don't even know how the dude has a show still. Like, honestly, he's just so...
Yeah, dude. I don't know. He obviously has viewers and people that like him, but that's the thing. I think we were chatting about it before as well. Sometimes it's just playing to your audience. And you know that's what's keeping your audience, so you just carry on saying shit.
True. I mean, we know people in the South African podcasting sphere. I know people who are actually slightly different in person than they are on Twitter and on their podcasts, just because they're playing to their audience and they're getting that sponsorship buck and they've doubled down on that strategy, basically.
Yeah, especially if you're getting paid for it. If people are paying you to say shit like that, you're gonna carry on saying it because it's money, bro. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I'm just saying I don't like it. So yeah, that's just how it is.
Yeah.
So then that moves to number 3, because there are 3 people you needed to defend tonight. And the next one is Bloomberg.
Oh yeah, Mikey Bloomberg.
Little Mike.
Mini Mike Bloomberg.
Mini Mike.
Can I just say how much I love that we live in a timeline where the President of the United States is calling people like old horseface and Mini Mike Bloomberg and do nothing. Like, you can complain that it ruins the delicacy of the office of the president.
But who made that rule?
Exactly.
That's what I want to know. Like,
but even beyond that, let's time out for like 10 seconds. Let's be brutally honest. Has that delicacy ever had really been around since like fucking I don't know, JFK was boning Marilyn Monroe on the Oval Office desk while his wife was away. Like, let's be real. Like, the delicacy of the offices of the president? Come on, guys.
Man, it's still a person. The president is still a person. There's nothing different to him than anyone else. So, just like we talk shit about people, why can't a president talk shit about people? I don't know. Like, yeah, dude, I really don't care about that. I think it's pretty funny, number one. And I like that it irritates people because that's all it does. It's actually not even to be funny. It's just like to irritate your opponent. And if they allow it to get into their heads, well, that's their problem, not his.
Right. And honestly, that kind of, let's be honest, that kind of approach is scoring him big points in Middle America. That kind of realist.
Because everyone feels that way.
Yeah.
Like everyone has an opinion on other people. Trump just gives it. That's the difference. So I think people just think that he's more honest because of it, because he just says what they're thinking, and they're like, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But in any case, did you watch the Democratic debate?
Oh, we'll get into that. Hold on. Let's finish up because I know you and I disagree on this somewhat. Okay, so apparently Mike Bloomberg is anti-farmer. Now, this comes in the wake, and
Wait, he's not anti-farmer.
Or he looks down on farmers.
He just thinks they're stupid.
That's the thing. Now, I'm going to contextualize this as follows. This was one of 5 anti-Bloomberg clips that just magically dropped about him in one weekend, 2 weeks before Super Tuesday. That looks awfully convenient to me. And,
yeah, sure, but that's politics. Like I said to you, that happens with everyone in politics.
I mean, it's like when that Trump quote about him saying Republican voters are the dumbest people on earth got dropped just before he went to another debate or something. So it's awfully convenient that these because the one was he was saying that there's a demographic of young Black and Latino males who don't know how to behave in the workplace, but what he actually said was something to the effect of they're not sure how to carry themselves in office because they haven't had that mentorship, that guidance type thing. But then people say, no, he actually means that Black people and Latino people don't know how to be. I'm like, no, come on. Okay, so your assertion basically, if I not misrepresent, is that, and I do think he thinks he's probably smart. He thinks that he's smarter than most farmers, but he's a billionaire. He thinks he's smarter than most human beings on the planet. That's just how billionaires are.
Sure, rightly so. He's the one that made billions, not me.
So my thing is, okay, and this is my contention, is that when you take it into full context, his quote was not as bad. Actually, let me find it real quick.
Not as bad doesn't mean it wasn't bad.
It doesn't quite. Okay, so here it is. So this is what he actually said, because you see the 30-second clip and whatever. Okay, so he says, and he's talking on people. But I think you've got to understand, what you've got to understand is that people who are getting the subsidy want the dignity of a job. They want the dignity of being responsible for their family and being able to take care of it. And that's the conundrum we're going into here, because technology is reducing the ability to give them jobs. We're just more and more, if you think about it, the agrarian society lasted 3,000 years, and we could teach processes. I could teach anybody, even the people in this room, no offense intended, to be a farmer. It's a process. You dig a hole, you put a seed in, and you put dirt on top, add water, up comes the corn. You could learn that. Then you have 300 years of the industrial society. You put the piece of metal on the lathe, you turn your crank in the direction of the arrow, and you can have a job. And we created a lot of jobs. At one point, 98% of the world worked in agriculture. Today, it's 2% in the United States. Now comes the information economy. And the information economy is fundamentally different because it's built around replacing people with technology. And the skill sets that you have to learn are how to think and analyze. And that is a whole degree different. You have to what? You have to have a different skill set. You have to have a lot more gray matter. It's not clear teachers can teach or that students can learn. So, my contention here, if I may, is that he temporally contextualizes it. When he says, because he says you had the agrarian society, he's talking about integrating people. When he's talking about that, he's saying teaching people back then how to farm. I severely doubt that Michael Bloomberg doesn't know, that farmers have to deal, a businessman like Michael Bloomberg doesn't know that farmers, have to deal with logistics, and he knows about the information economy. He knows that farmers have to deal with things like knowing when to plant, supply lines, all that. Because my contention lies in, he said the agrarian society 3,000 years ago. He's temporally contextualizing, framing how to integrate people into farming 3,000 years ago at its peak start, as opposed to framing people how to integrate now at the peak start of the information economy. I still don't think it's innocent. I'll give you that. I think it's still kind of cringy. He said a bad thing even badlier, but in context, because he temporally contextualizes it, and it's a bit of a Rorschach test. I see it as him contextualizing, saying back then you could just sort of put a seed in. I really don't think Mike Bloomberg doesn't understand that farming is also information age processed now, because he very clearly talks about processes and a temporal context. But that's my bit.
Yeah, well, the way he said it is just fucking weird because I think he said they around the information age, you need skill sets to learn how to think and analyze, a different skill set to think and analyze. But that is also farming.
Yeah,
It's
no,
not,
and I'll say this: I have all the love for farmers.
there is a
farmers.
reason.
My family owns a farm.
There is a reason that at one point 98% of the world worked in agriculture, and today it's only 2%, because that 2% can feed the 98% now.
Right.
And that didn't come from digging a hole, putting in a seed, and then putting water on it and then watching corn grow.
Sure.
I still think, I just don't like the way he said it, and it makes it seem like farmers are just digging a hole and putting a seed in. Where I know a couple of farmers, it is scientific as fuck.
I know. My family has a farm, a very small farm, but I know it's fucking hard work, and it's
let me
actually
tell you
quite
something.
complex now.
They are not going to teach me to do farming because well, number one, I'm probably just not interested in it, and number two, it seems way too complicated for me, dude. I used to do software development, now I do technical advising. I understand that shit, but it's
Lucky
because
bastard.
that's what I learned.
I'm still stuck in the trap.
That is what I learned, just like farmers learned what they learned. The difference with farmers is, yes, there is this thing of generational, what do you call it, knowledge that's been passed down over time, which is very different to the industry that you and I are in. It's not like our parents can pass down how to build software and
that's the weird thing. Is that
build
they couldn't anyway.
algorithms.
We're actually the first generation where let's say a lot of people are involved, quote unquote. So our parents couldn't even pass it down anyway. I mean, I know some guys that are like 60-year-old devs and they code.
Yeah,
they
my
used to
father
code
was a developper.
Code in COBOL and all that, but
Yeah,
the majority of people ours is the first generation where software development, all that shit is actually a major industry now.
Yeah, but also, like for me, no one taught me that shit. I learned it on my own.
I'll full disclosure.
You know what I mean?
I was fortunate enough to go to university to study informatics. So
Yeah, so I learned it on my own, dude. Like, at that time, I was like, what is making money? I mean, I knew how to do websites and stuff because I learned that at school. And when I left school, I started a business doing websites. But at some point, you realize websites don't make money, bro. It's like, and HTML is just, it's not even code. It's just,
well, it's not even that. It's
fucking XML,
the amount
really.
when you have tools like when you have sort of tools like what's that, Squarespace, where
Yeah, yeah,
you like it's basically very nicely framed, low code. You just move things around in it,
yeah,
so you even that like even now making website now is like
yeah.
why?
Wix, there's like so many options, but um, at some point I realized I'm not making money from this anymore, and I needed to find a job. And I saw a job for a senior PHP developer, and the money was pretty good at that time. I mean, I think I was like 21, and I was like, I need to get that freaking job. Um, I spoke to my dad. I was like, Dad, I need these books. Back then, like, I mean, we had internet, but it wasn't like freely available as it is now. Like, it was
Mm,
still very expensive. So, and also, you didn't have so much stuff on the internet that we have now. So you couldn't just learn stuff on the internet. So I learned through books, got an interview. 2 weeks later, I got the job, dude. And I
damn,
literally took
like
two
senior
weeks.
PHP developer
Yeah,
job.
they even gave me a test. I had to do this like online test, which said I was an expert, expert in it. But
Damn, dude, I
but
went
dude,
to
I was really
varsity.
motivated. Like I
I
was
went to
super
varsity for
motivated.
years. I went to varsity for years to study informatics. So I didn't learn quite as quick as you.
Look, look,
Although
There
to
was a
be
lot that I didn't know, to be honest.
okay.
So once I started the job, but I had enough that they thought I was an expert.
Although
Um,
probably also I probably even though you learn the implementation, I also learned a lot of like the theory,
yeah.
database housing theory, some of the
So that's the
mathematics
kind of
behind it.
stuff. That's the kind of stuff I had to kind of learn on the job.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, I had to work with something that a lot of people don't really get to work on, which is a protocol called XMPP. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I have.
But essentially, it's a protocol that all instant messaging apps use. So, like your WhatsApp, your Messenger, your Telegram, they all run on a protocol called XMPP, which even to the developers that were at the company that I had to start working at, they had never worked with it before. So I kind of had leeway because I could say to them, I never worked on this before, but I'll learn while I'm, deving the stuff, which helped me. And yeah, I had to learn a lot of stuff, of course, on the job.
Most tech we've spoken about in a while, by the way.
Yeah,
This is like the most tech we've spoken about on the show. But
yeah,
anyway,
dude.
sorry,
And then
continue.
I kind of got into doing stuff in the payments industry with the banks.
Mm,
Developing stuff there, prepaid electricity meters, prepaid electricity systems that calculate a whole bunch of shit. And then my niche was kind of protocol messages.
mm,
And that is essentially what payments is as well. They are just messages being sent over a network. When you
mm,
swipe your card, it's just a message going through. So I ended up specializing in all sorts of protocols for low-level messaging.
mm,
Um, and that's kind of what we still do today. I mean, we still do other stuff for customers,
mm.
but essentially we specialize in payments, which is
Okay.
pretty cool. So, and that all just came from being really under pressure and needing to learn something new so I could start making money because I took a massive dip in my life and I wasn't making money and I needed to do frickin' something. Um, and
Mm.
yeah, it just happened to work out.
Wow. Shit.
So my point is, I could learn that on my own, and Bloomberg, talks about this new information age. Anyone can learn anything if they really want to learn it.
Mm,
That's number one. And number two is I just felt like his what he said there was just factually false because it doesn't matter what industry you are in, and I don't care any industry that you are in,
mm.
especially nowadays, as
I
primal
don't
as it
think.
as primal as it may seem, there
Mm.
is a lot of science and technology involved in it.
Of course, but that's the thing. That's why I say he's temporally. I think he's talking about when it started. You could teach anyone to be a farmer. I don't think he thinks that you can take a city slicker me today and teach them to be a modern farmer. I don't think he actually. I think because of that temporal contextualization when he talks about the. But yeah, like you said, he said a cringy thing in a cringier way per se.
Damn Bloomberg. Yeah, it was
But
just
he's
it was just the wrong way to say it. Like, I can see how it fucked off a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
my family has a farm, and I was like, whoa, dude. But if you, yeah, look, politicians say cringe shit all. Again, I'm not excusing this. I'm just saying
Look,
maybe look at it this from
like I
this.
said earlier, everyone says cringy shit, and when you're in
Mm.
politics, people are gonna find it, and it's gonna come
Mm.
out. So, um, my whole thing with him is, if you look at the debate that happened, didn't it seem like he just? It's as if he didn't expect any of those questions that came up.
Oh, are we
And those
getting
are
into
things that have
debate?
been, yeah, and those things have been
Let's
like,
okay,
yeah, and those
okay.
things have been
Let's
floating around for weeks. And it's like he never even prepared answers for any of the questions that
let's
he should have known is coming.
Okay, let's get into the debates. You're right, he should have known. Firstly, I don't know why he even went into this debate. He could
Because
have skipped
he
this
bought his
debate.
way, but he bought
No,
his way into
no,
it.
I don't care that he bought his way in. Why go into this debate? If you're loading everything on Super Tuesday, then why even participate in this debate? Donald Trump, on his way up, skipped a couple of debates that he didn't need to be at. He just said, fuck it.
Yeah.
Fuck it. I'm going home to Melania tonight. Okay? He skipped it. Bloomberg should have skipped some debates. But he wanted to seem like he has claws and all that shit. So he went into this debate. As you said, I will say his best moment for me was when he said, well, when he pointed out something to the effect of Elizabeth Warren was like shooting her powwow gums off. And he said, well, actually, I've built a business and run it. Has anyone else on the stage done that? And there was silence for like a second or two. And he's like, okay. And I was like, exactly, correct. Go Bloomberg. This is you finding your balls. Because yes, every single person else on that stage has lived off the government teat for their entire life, meaning that they've lived off of your taxes their entire lives. Okay? Especially Bernard Breadline McSanders. Okay? Who we'll get to in a minute. His,
Red line.
his,
Yeah.
his worst part in the debate, like you say with the question, is when they when they went to toss him and Amy Klobuchar were my favorites. I'll get to Amy in a second. When they went to him over stop and frisk. Now, for those of you who aren't American, or those of you who don't even live in New York City, stop and frisk was a principle implemented by Michael Bloomberg during his mayorship, where and props to Bloomberg, he took over after like 9/11. He really didn't have an easy start. You know, and it's a principle that he implemented where, you know, police officers on the streets would stop and frisk, as in like search. And by the way, before you freak out, this was approved by the Supreme Court of the United States as not in violation of the Fourth Amendment. By the way, which, by the way, for those of you who don't know, do you know what the Fourth Amendment is?
Remind me, because no. And
Okay.
I just, even by you just saying that, I feel like it is a violation anyway. Has it got to do with privacy?
Not exactly. The Fourth Amendment basically protects people from unreasonable searches and seizures. Just give
What
me a
is considered unreasonable, though?
Well, that's contextual case. The Fourth Amendment basically just says you're not allowed to. Okay, so into the United States Constitution is part of the Bill of Rights. It prohibits unreasonable search and seizures. In addition, it sets requirements. It's weird how I and you as non-Americans know more about their Constitution than some people. But anyway, in addition, it sets requirements for issuing warrants. Warrants must be issued by a judge or magistrate, justified by probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and must particularly describe the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. Stop and Frisk says we are going to now look for young Black and Latino males in New York City who appear to, because, you know, obviously, even if you conceal carry well, veteran police can sort of tell who's carrying a weapon unless you're concealed carrying well. And there were a lot of illegal guns on the streets. The libertarian in me, as you say, it says it's kind of a violation of stop and frisk. I mean, it's kind of a violation of the Fourth Amendment anyway, but the Supreme Court approved it. Fine, what fucking ever. My point here is, so we're not, because I actually kind of agree with you that it's sort of a violation of the Fourth Amendment. What Bloomberg should have said in that debate when they said, "Oh, you institute stop and frisk," was not back and forth. What he should have said is just been calm and said, "Yes, I did institute stop and frisk, and it was incredibly effective because the numbers show it. It's not just like some conservative think tank
Yeah,
that says
but
it
that was
works."
his problem throughout the whole debate. Like he kept trying to
Rewrite his own history.
yeah, instead of just being like, these are the facts, you know?
Yeah, like with stop and frisk, he sort of said, yes, it worked. It was approved by the Supreme Court. Oh, and by the way, the primary beneficiaries of stop and frisk were black and Latino people who weren't shot by illegal guns carried by gang members. Done. There and then he would have said, oh, and if I would have him, I would have added, and thus I saved a bunch of black lives, unlike Elizabeth Warren, sponsored by Planned Parenthood, who kills more black people than ever. Done. That would have been him off the stage. Done. But no, he
also,
didn't.
I think Elizabeth Warren brought up NDAs that he has with some woman that accused him of sexual harassment. Also, the way he handled that was just not right. Like, I think there's like 3 or 4 NDAs that he has with people that accused him of sexual harassment.
It's not even all of them are sexual harassment accusations.
Like,
some of them are just NDAs.
I would have said like,
have you ever run a company? Everybody signs an NDA.
I run a business of, I don't know how many people he employs. What, 50,000 people? I don't know. Who cares? Say it's 50,000 people. I think I'm doing pretty good if there's only 3 or 4 people that have ever accused me of anything. Because people can accuse you of a whole bunch of stuff. And then Elizabeth Warren was like, yeah, well, he should let them get out of their NDA so they can tell their story. And then he should have said, well, NDA isn't there to protect just me. It's to protect them as well. Both parties are supposed to be protected from the NDA. People don't sign the NDA so that another person is protected. They sign it so they can protect themselves as well. And yeah, dude, he was just terrible at the whole debate. But and there's obviously a lot of talk about how he's bought his way into.
Let's get into that. When people say bought his way in, what do they mean exactly? Is it the ads that he's bought?
No. So he
because if your contention is that he bought in by ads, I'm like, that's not buying in. Toyota can air 1 million ads. I'll just not buy a Toyota.
I heard something that some of the DNC foundations or some shit he had given like over 100 million to. Like just after he started running. And of course the DNC would be like, yeah, well, we like to have money, so
also,
give us more and you can run.
That's the thing, right? Okay, so bought his way in. Well, anyone can actually run. Anyone in America can run under the Democrat. You just need to. So technically, everyone buys their way in because they have to buy enough ads to get enough people to back them as a candidate so that they can get on the ballot. So, but I don't even want to argue about that. Let's say he did buy his way in. So fucking what?
Yeah,
I say. First of all, it's amazing to me how the Democrats went from billionaires shouldn't exist to our billionaire is richer than your billionaire. First of all, that's like my number.
Yeah, but he also got swiped at being a billionaire on the debate stage as well, obviously from Elizabeth Warren and
you know what I would have done in that situation? You know what I would have done? I said, yeah, I'm a billionaire. And guess what? I've created value for so many people's lives through my business, all through consensual transaction.
Yeah,
and guess
how many people do you feed?
And guess what? In the general election, when it's up against Trump, don't you want somebody who's actually got the money to cash in checks and do what he needs to do to beat Trump? Don't you want somebody with the money to beat Trump?
Yeah, and I think the DNC is in a very difficult position right now with Bernie Sanders winning now in Nevada as well.
Oh, before Bernie Sanders, 2 seconds. I want to give my love ode to Amy Minnesota Klobuchar because she just destroyed Pete Buttigieg at the debate. Like Mayor
How
Pete
do you
looks.
say his name? Is it Buttigieg? Is it Buttigieg? Is it?
I've been trying for like months now. I think it's
I think it's
Buttigieg.
Buttigieg, Buttigieg, or I don't know.
Buttigieg. I don't know,
Yeah,
man. I don't know. But basically, Mayor Pete's talking about all this shit, and Amy Klobuchar just like comes at, like in those gangster movies where you just see like somebody appear from like a fucking alleyway with, and you hear that like in Inglorious Bastards, the bear Jew coming with a bat, like just
yeah,
or like a gangster movie, somebody with a metal bat coming down. This was Amy Klobuchar when Pete's talking about all this shit, because Mayor Pete's thing is, I'm so perfect, like he's so produced. He's so produced and perfect, like it's
yeah.
annoying. And Amy Klobuchar basically turns to her and says, "Yes, yes, Pete, blah blah blah. Oh, and by the way, real people make mistakes, and I own up to my mistakes. And also, you're the mayor of a small town, and I won in a purple district by more than you ever. Thank you, Amy Klobuchar. With all respect to your marriage, I would like to take you out on a classy dinner date, then drink a little bit too much whiskey. Maybe we can get into a fist fight because I know you're from Minnesota and you can throw a couple of punches. Then I would like to plow you in the snow. That's how I'd like to take it." Thank you for taking out Pete Perfect Pants Buttigieg. But anyway, yeah.
Okay, but let's just be honest. Both of them don't have a chance.
Yeah. So because of, well, and of course Joe Biden was just dead, like he's non-existent.
Yeah,
And then
dude,
we
he's just a
have
corpse walking. I don't know. Like, I don't know how he's still there. Like,
he's like, "Oh, Barack, come on, save." Well, he's counting on South Carolina because the thing is, Joe Biden is still incredibly popular with black voters because of his legacy with Barack, and
but
because
Barack isn't even endorsing him.
Right.
So, like,
Your own voice starting to...
yeah.
Like,
So-
imagine if you were like, and like I just didn't endorse you. Like I was just completely silent. Like,
Yeah, dude, it's so weird. And what's even more weird is, the Democratic Party has gone so left, and they're going on
he's
about transformation and
yeah.
people
I
of
mean,
color and all that kind of stuff. There's not
insane.
one person of color left on the stage. Like, you want to moan when there's like a movie cast and there's like only one person of color in the movie, or there's whatever it is, and you moan about it, but you don't even, your own processes don't even allow for it. Like, and is that because your processes? Is it because the other candidates are just bringing in more
Systematic
money?
oppression. They keep talking about systematic oppression.
Yeah,
This is
man.
systematic oppression.
It's it's so funny. Like that's definitely something to kick them on.
But
But
yeah,
I just don't
Bernie,
understand. For right now, obviously Bernie's looking strong,
Bernie
which
breadline.
which
Well, we're looking
which
at
everyone is hating. Even the Democrats are hating that.
yeah.
And do you think they're going to steal it from him again?
Well, if Joe Biden doesn't win in South Carolina, he's toast. So, as you said, Bernie won in Nevada. Bernie breadline
Andy
Sanders,
won. Andy won in. Where else did he win? I think
New
he's won
Hampshire
like
and
2 or
Iowa.
3 so far,
New Hampshire and Iowa.
and he came second in the first one.
Elizabeth Warren lost in New Hampshire. That is
And that's another thing.
criminal because it's right next to
Elizabeth Warren
Massachusetts.
is like nowhere right now. But obviously, Super Tuesday is what matters the most, right?
Yeah. So here's my thing on this whole take, right? I would much rather, for all his flaws and everything said about Michael Bloomberg, I would much rather. Okay, firstly, let me put it to you this way. I think it is likely that Trump is going to win again. Given the economy, given the general mood on the ground in the United States, regardless of what you read on fucking wokesplainer.com or whatever woke blog you're reading, people in the middle of the country are actually living a good life in the Trump presidency. So I think between things like killing al-Baghdadi and all that shit and just the economy and everything, it's economic records broke. I really think that people are going to look at the practical side of it and as they say, hold their nose and vote for Trump. They're going to be, except for maybe like suburban women. I get that he's very off-putting to suburban
But
women.
especially if Sanders becomes the candidate,
Yeah.
Like
And open
I
fucking,
feel like
he's an
as
open
left,
social, he's an
yeah,
open communist.
as left as the Democratic Party is, they still prefer capitalism,
He's an open
and
communist. He's an open
yeah,
communist.
and people would rather vote for Trump than they would for Sanders, especially older people that know what happened,
They
through the
remember,
Soviet days,
yeah,
and
they remember socialism.
yeah,
He's an
um,
open communist. Open communist. But that's why I'm saying, okay, for all his flaws and whatever, in terms of things, I think the best, likely, I think Trump will win re-election regardless of who runs against him. Because A, he's doing pretty well, and B, statistically, if you look at it from a big data perspective, the American people, as I've said it before, seldom switch horses halfway through the race. It is very difficult to be a one-term president. In fact, most of the people
especially when the economy is doing so well.
Exactly. In fact, most of the people that were one-term presidents because they died in their term. There's like one or two. I think Jimmy Carter was a one-term president, and he was just awful at his job. No offense to him as a guy. In his personal life now, he still works very hard, and that's great, but as a president back then, awful. But it's very... And then you have Calvin Coolidge, who's the greatest, most libertarian president they ever had, maybe next to Grover Cleveland, and he said, nope, I'm just running for one term. Here's all the policies I'm going to put in place, done, goodbye. But realistically, it's hard to be a one-term president. That being said, I am making this decision based on, let's say he loses anyway. I think President Bloomberg or President Klobuchar, or even, since she's technically still on the run, President Tulsi Gabbard, would all be far less damaging for even Joe Biden. He's basically a corpse. He'd probably be the best president because he just shut the fuck up and let the world run itself.
And he'll forget half the policies that he ran on anyway.
Exactly. President Biden, President Gabbard, President Klobuchar, President Bloomberg, all of these would be, in fact, not bad, and some of them might actually be good for the American system than either Sanders or Warren. Warren less so, but Sanders definitely. He will wreck their economy. He will fundamentally sort of transform the United States, and it is just going to be a fucking disaster. So I'd even though I still think Trump will probably win re-election, I would much rather it be against Bloomberg, because the consequences of him losing to Bloomberg or Klobuchar.
I think we also got to remember how American politics work, and that yes, the president has powers, but its powers are almost very limited with the Senate and the House. So
it's the three branches of government: the judiciary, the Senate, and the executive branch, and they're all built to counteract each other.
Yeah, so it makes things difficult. I mean, there were a lot of things Trump couldn't do because he was stopped by the House and Senate. That's just how it is.
Or the Supreme Court.
And I think what's interesting to note there is that I think many of the Democrats in any case are anti-socialism. So even if Bernie does somehow win the nomination and does somehow become president, what he'll actually be able to implement might not go his way.
Yeah, I think a lot of his own house will probably hamstring him.
Yeah. But I know it's a question for the future. Let's say Trump does his second term, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who comes after Trump? Do you think one of his kids will want to run for president?
I think Don Jr. might want to run.
What about his daughter?
Here's the thing. Well, I'm assuming you mean Ivanka and not the lesser-known daughter, Tiffany.
Yeah, Ivanka.
God, Ivanka's fine as fuck, though. Can you imagine if Ivanka ran with Condoleezza Rice or Ivanka and Nikki Haley as a ticket?
Imagine
it would blow the Democrats' minds. It's two women and one woman of color.
Yeah, imagine
what are you
the first woman president comes from the Republican Party.
That'd be insane.
Yeah, it would be crazy, dude. I think that would be legit.
I'd like that to happen. Actually, I want like an Ivanka Condoleezza Rice ticket or an Ivanka Nikki Haley ticket. Although Nikki's a bit of a neocon, so maybe an Ivanka. So's Condi. Anyway, Ivanka and Condoleezza or Ivanka and Nikki Haley. That would be amazing, amazing.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. So those of you who aren't American, basically what you need to take from this is it's very scary that during these caucuses, unlike like the ANC that just has to go to where's their last big thing? Nazareth.
Yeah.
In the US political system, what happens is they go state by state by state by state, and they get these delegates and they get voted in for who they want to run as their candidate. And Super Tuesday is a big one because it's where a bunch of, as far as I understand, like a bunch of states weigh in with their delegates.
Yeah,
and
it's
their
like
super
the
delegates.
majority of delegates.
Yeah. And that's in 2 weeks from now, or a week and a half from now.
I actually don't know.
So
I've
that's
got a feeling in any case, if Bernie does win, the Democratic Party will do something to not have him nominated.
I really hope so.
That's what they did
Because
last time with him. So
not because
then,
I want Bernie to be cheated, just because I think he is so damaging to the American experiment. Like, his ideology is just, I'm sorry.
maybe the best thing is for him to win and then see how many people actually vote for socialism.
I kind of hope maybe he does win, and then we just have a repeat of a Boris Johnson, Jeremy Corbyn election.
Yes, yes. I think it would probably be something like that.
Because that's how I like all the college commies will just drink and party too much the night before. They'll be too hungover or too high to seriously understand, to go vote or to understand how they're voting, and that'll just stop his wave then and there. Like,
Damn, dude. So much happening in American politics, but I'm excited actually for the election this year. It's
yeah,
going to be interesting.
I think we're gonna do like a super stream again, like you guys did for the last election.
Yes, we
I'll
have
actually
to
be
do that.
awake this time, and we'll have like a no script and friends, like a whole bunch of people, and we're gonna do like a, I don't know, a super stream of some sort, and just
Like
yeah,
12 hours
Yeah.
of American politics.
and you and I have to be drinking for like 6 of those hours.
That is fine. I'm willing to do that.
I need a good drinking partner. And speaking of good partners, that leads us to our second sponsor of the day. Now, you may have been abandoned by your podcast partner, and you may need somebody who would be a good partner. Now, you find good partners at good places, and there's no better place to find good friends, partners, and drinking buddies than at JB's Pub. JB's Pub is a proprietary pub, and it's actually quite private. In fact, you get in by knowing one of us, namely Ruan. In fact, it's so private that only he can get you there. Which kind of makes this whole advert moot, but we kind of got paid to do it, so we're going to do the advert anyway. JB's Pub, it's where you want to go. It's like Cheers, except not creepy with a weird background sound music, and anything goes, except for being a Duos. JB's Pub.
No, you're allowed to be a Duos there, as long as to nobody inside the pub.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, that reminds me, you need to come to JV's again sometime.
Yeah, we need to set that up. Shit.
Soon.
Yeah.
But I know we've been speaking a lot about American politics.
How about our own?
Do you want to weigh in on old Adrian makes a lot of shit Basson from News 24? And did you read that whole
Did you not see my
Twitter
tweet about
thread?
him?
No, I didn't. I only really caught on it today. So tell me, what did you say? Well, what's your take on it?
Because he posted this. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, a handful of international listeners, Adrian Basson is a quote-unquote journalist, and at news24.com, and him and his
Yeah,
team.
journalist in quotes, that's for sure.
It was him and Paulie van Veek and somebody else who did this whole crusade against some kids who got taken a photo of them at an inopportune time that just happened to look like it was a Nazi salute. By the way, there is a bunch of non-white kids in this picture. But
And there's a video. You saw the video.
Yes, thanks to shout out to Jonathan Witt for tweeting out the video. Jonathan, you probably won't ever hear this, but shout out to you, buddy. Like real talk, like that bottle. I'm probably gonna send it. Like I have a thing against black and white profile pictures, but you get a pass, buddy. You're my favorite Jewish doctor. Anyway, and Arjo Vasson tweets out this thread about him in this whole video where kids inopportunely had a photo taken where it looks like they're doing a Nazi salute, except in the video, it's clearly they do that for like 3 seconds and they're doing a hand wave fucking motion, and it's a whole choreographed
It's a whole dance and
it's
singing.
actually quite beautiful. They sang wonderfully, and it's this whole thing, and they just snipped this tiny bit out to make it look like they were being trained. But I'm just going to put this out here right now. I keep saying this, and I feel like I have to keep saying this because like the media is focusing on it. Gang, there aren't very many actual Nazis left. Not many. Not at all. Don't let fucking 4chan and the Pepe avatars on Twitter fool you, and the fucking gropers, fucking idiots. There aren't many actual Nazis left on planet Earth. So there wouldn't be enough to train a school full of kids to be new Nazis. Trust me. Anyway, the point is, these kids got slandered, and they did this so-called investigation, and it just caused so much fucking trouble for all these kids and their parents and the school and all that, and it was just a nightmare for everyone. Not that Artyom cares, because it's moving fucking volumes of news and all that. And Artyom posted this whole long tweet thread about it, and he's like, it reads like I don't know. It reads like me getting dumped by my first girlfriend. It's just like so cryy and like, oh, I worked so hard on this. Like, take me back. Anyway.
Yeah, the virtue signaling is strong with the Adrian Basson dude. I saw Quentin actually said he had a tweet saying that there's like some rumor that Basson has something against the university because one of his friends were fired from the university at that time.
Really? Interesting.
Although I haven't seen anyone respond to him and say who it is.
Well, I basically
But it's basically a conspiracy right now because I mean nothing's been confirmed. But yeah, dude, I don't know what it's. Adrian Basson just irritates the shit out of me.
That's why when Conscious Caracal pointed it out, I just quoted the tweet and I said, Adrian Basson is the type of nigga who holds on to a grudge longer than his girlfriend. Because yes.
You're making something out of nothing just to fucking get retweets. And my problem with stuff like that is, like, it's easy to apologize about stuff afterwards, but your apology is never seen by everyone who saw your initial thread. So
yes, and even if it is the consequences to somebody's life.
Yeah, you've already put it out there, and majority of people think it's true. And if it comes out that it's not true, and then you apologize, not even a third of those people will see your apology. They'll just take it as it's still fact.
Yeah.
Like, there should be serious consequences for doing shit like that.
Oh, yeah.
Man, what an idiot. Jeez, like, I just don't like him. I really don't like him, dude.
Honestly, like, remember that kid that was that your parents forced you to invite to your fucking birthday party? I always wanted to know who he grew up to be, and apparently he grows up to be a News 24 editor called Adrian Basson. So fuck you. Like, honestly.
Yeah, dude. Jeez, like. And then, obviously, also in our politics, people being accused of slapping their wives in Parliament. That was really funny. I don't know if you saw that.
I didn't catch that bit. I just saw like the one that really.
I think Julius Malema accused Ramaphosa of slapping his wife, and then some guy from the ANC told Parliament that Malema abuses his wife or some shit like that. Like, dude, what's? Let's go to the Sona. Let's first talk about the Sona, right?
Oh, I just hate. Okay, so
why?
State of the Nation address, guys.
Why do we call it a Sona when we never hear the State of the Nation? If you compare it to the US.
Okay, so I'm gonna give. Which is see, this is my thing. Okay, I'm gonna say, okay, I personally hate the idea of the State of the Union and the State of the Nation because it's just to me, it's like it's like this sort of huge statist crap. This is the libertarian in me, statist crap. Just send us a fucking letter. Read something in front of a teleprompter on camera. We don't all need to go to this great gala to see the great king president like address us all. Like, no, come on. But
Yeah, I
okay,
agree.
yeah, at
I
least
agree
the
with that.
American one is fucking entertaining. But
No,
anyway,
at
sorry.
least the American one, they actually talk about the state of the nation.
Oh yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like they actually talk about what unemployment is at the moment, what this is happening, what's happening here, what's happening there. When we have a state of the nation, it's more what can we do to further the national democratic revolution, and how can we make a Wakanda here in South
This
Africa.
this ideology of like a
And
perfect.
we don't hear about anything that's, we don't hear about what the state of the nation is. Um, Probably because it's shit and everyone will cry when they hear it.
Yeah, things
But
aren't going well, gang.
like that's what the state of the nation is supposed to be, right? Tell us where we are. If we don't know where we're fucking up, how do we know how to improve it?
Yeah, where do we focus if we don't know where we're going
And
wrong?
then they want to talk about starting a new energy company and a sovereign wealth fund.
What?
Where are we gonna build a sovereign wealth fund? We don't even get enough. The government doesn't have enough money to fucking do anything. Now you want a sovereign wealth fund? Like really,
It's,
really,
holy shit, that's ridiculous.
dude. Like that kind of stuff just pees me off. And you saw Mark Pompeo's speech on expropriation without compensation.
Yeah, and he's 100% correct.
100%.
He's 100% correct. And the thing is, and I think it's hilarious that Cyril then went on and said, we're going to push it through anyway, and it's going to be done without force, and it'll be orderly and no land grabs. How exactly are you going to do this without force? If I, as a single farmer, say I don't want to, how are you going to do this without force?
Dude, there's gonna be bloodshed if that happens. Like,
And by the way, gang, here's the thing, right? It's not going to be like some, well, Flip Base, very smart guy, and from Solidarity, and I know Clip Clop likes reading his book, The Road to Self-Governance. Shout out to Conscious Caracal for retweeting this article where Flip outlines why it's not going to be like Zimbabwe for a bunch of reasons. And his is a slightly more positive take than mine, but mine's a slightly more negative take for two reasons. One, it's not going to be like Zimbabwe because after us, there's nowhere else to go.
yep,
There's nowhere else. This is the last stand. And the other thing is, you forget that there is almost a mythical connection in the Afrikaner farming community to the land that they stand on. They bled and died for this after the Anglo-Boer War, and they were treated horribly, by the way, horribly in those concentration camps. And the thing is about a lot of these people on these farms, they have nowhere else to go. This is their Eden, their promised land. A lot of these people, their generations of ancestors are buried on these farms. They're not going to leave. They're going to either have those farms or die on them. And they're very ready to die on those farms.
yeah, dude. I also think like at some point, regardless of culture, language,
And
religion,
that's not even
when
including the
your
economic
group
disaster.
starts getting, when a group of people start eventually decide we've had enough, they've kind of had enough. And Conscious Caracal spoke about it really well on, I think it was on Ramon, on the Renegade Report with Ramon and Jonathan, that Afrikaans people don't want to leave. If you can give them
Yeah.
the option to leave the country, they don't want to leave. This is
Yeah.
their country, right? So they were born here, their ancestors were born here. They've been here longer than America's been a country. Um, yeah, so Afrikaans people will be, if they pushed against the wall, they'll want to defend themselves, dude. And we don't want to leave this country. I don't want to leave this country. So yeah,
Yeah,
man.
none of us. Well, I mean, okay, for me it's kind of a dual thing because
But like I'm
I also
speaking
see bosses
Afrikaans and
home, but yeah.
Afrikaners in particularly, we don't have a culture outside of South Africa. The English are maybe a little bit different, where
I don't think a lot of English people, I think, have less culture than Afrikaans people.
yeah,
Like, what is English culture to you? Like, and Conscious pointed this out on the on the Man Patriot podcast. Shout out to Man Patriot podcast. Can't wait to do our collab. He pointed out that in the one book, he said one of the reasons a lot of English people can sort of vacate the country is, well, I mean, wealth and passports and ancestral passports aside, is you can go to England and fit right in. Like, you
exactly.
can go there. Like, as an English speaking white person in South Africa, you can go to England or you can go to Australia, and culturally you will fit in there. There is nothing. I don't think it met very many Afrikaners, except, what is that Afrikaans term? Like a Smitsian or something. Like the types that like are basically just kissing up to the English. That,
Yeah, yeah.
except for them, I don't think any Afrikaner born and bred in South Africa could very easily leave and just very easily fit in elsewhere.
Yeah, and that's just the thing, dude. We don't want to fit anywhere else, fit in anywhere else. We want to be here.
Yeah.
That's just what it is. But yeah, like I said, history has shown that you push long enough, doesn't matter what cultural group you fall part of. If you push against the wall long enough, at some point you're going to push back. And that expropriation without compensation may be that thing where people decide, you know what, fuck that.
Mm.
I either live on this land or I die on this land, but I'm going fucking nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's not a situation we want, by the way, at all.
Yeah, of course not.
I don't think anyone wants outside of like political zealots and the people who won't actually be physically involved in the conflict. Outside of those groups of people, I don't think anybody actually wants that to happen.
Yeah, dude, it's kind of a death sentence anyway if you get taken away or told to move, or um, especially if you have debt on the land and the banks want you to still pay for it.
Mm.
What the hell are you going to do in life? Say you're a farmer, right?
Hmm.
All you know is farming. Now you need to go live in the city.
Well, I'm just going to jump in here. Bots
Yeah,
already has a 3% Afrikaans population. What I would do if I was President Mkhitaryan of Botswana right now is just be like, yo, Afrikaners, if South Africa doesn't want you, we've already got a couple of you. Come right through. You'll fit right in here. Like, it's barely a change at all, the difference between Bots and South Africa,
yeah,
except that they still have the conservative BDP party in charge. So yeah.
yeah, dude. Like I'm saying, like if you're a farmer, that's all you know, and you now need to leave your property and go live in the city. What work are you going to do? Number one. Number two, where are you going to find a place to stay when you are no longer making money, and you still owe on a bond to the banks? Like it's retarded. It doesn't make sense.
It's a death sentence on so many, and
Yeah,
and in a way we sort of saw a miniature version of this after the second Anglo-Boer War, where a lot of Afrikaans people did have to go to the cities and work in factories and mines and all that because the English had done their shit, salted the lands, concentration camp, all that shit, which was horrific, and now a lot of these Afrikaners basically had to go to the city, and we saw a mini version of what would happen if they had to do that, and it was not good at all.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So anyway, we always talk about EWC, but it's obviously something that affects everyone. So yeah, dude, it's just such a fuck up. I don't understand how the government even remotely think it's a good idea. Like, in what way can it be a good idea? The only thing that makes sense to me is if the land be belongs to the state.
It will
And
belong to the state.
yeah,
You were
and
that's a retarded thing
that's
about this. All these people,
and that's what makes the state richer. That's all it
yeah,
does. It just makes the state richer.
that's the retarded thing about it. All these people on Twitter and Facebook can't wait to get my land. I'm like, you won't have land. Have you read what they're proposing? You will never ever, even if magically tomorrow old Cyril snaps his fingers and all that land's expropriated, it doesn't belong to you, dear EFF zealot. It belongs to the state. You still won't have the land.
Not just that, I think the government is currently sitting on close to 5,000 farms.
Exactly.
Why hasn't that been distributed?
Because it's not about,
You think
because
the new
it's
land is going to be distributed? They're
exactly,
already
no, it
sitting on
won't. It's
5,000 farms.
exactly, it's
Come
not
on.
about distribution or redressing the past.
No, man, it's
That's
about
not,
keeping the government wealthy.
it's about keeping the government wealthy. It's about, as Conscious Caracal pointed out, a similar thing with Zim and in other parts of Africa. These sort of land distribution policies are the last ditch efforts of a dying revolutionary party in power. Because
Yeah, yeah,
when
exactly,
old Bob
exactly right.
Mugabe's party came into power, he wasn't talking about land expropriation. He only picked that shit up towards the end because they were a dying revolutionary party in power.
Yeah, it's the last stand, kind of.
And they always go for this because it's a popular. If it was really about redressing the past, honestly, as you said, you could, one, you wouldn't have it phrased as the government still owns the land, and two, you would just release all these farms, all this land that you have as government right now.
Man, it's so retarded. It's so
It's
retarded.
it's so incredibly transparent about what it's actually about. It's like, honestly, the government telling me that this is about redressing the problems of the past is like a dude saying, I watch Pornhub for the fucking story plot. Like, come on, dude, you're
Yeah.
fooling nobody.
Yeah, exactly. And then,
Yeah,
did you?
you really want to know if that plumber got those pipes unclogged. You really, like, come
Yeah.
on, right?
And I saw, I think it was this week or last week, AfriForum brought out the stats for farm murders and so on. And they were saying something like, yeah, farmers need to protect themselves.
Mhm.
And then, did you see the news headlines the day after?
Yeah, it's like AfriForum says
AfriForum tells farmers
farmers.
must take up arms
Mars.
and all this. Like, no, that's not what they said.
Yeah.
Come on, guys. Jeez, dude, what is up with the media? You know,
Honestly,
you would think that the media would want to be the ones. You would think that they'd want to tell the truth, right? Because,
quote unquote.
but fuck, what do they gain by not telling the truth? That's what I don't understand.
That
What are they gaining? Is it so that they are, um, when the government starts coming after people, they don't come after them first, or is that, or what? Like, for what reason?
maybe it's that. Maybe it's feeding the crocodile in the hopes that it'll eat you last.
Yeah, like, fuck,
Problem with
man.
that scenario is that the crocodile still eats you.
Yeah, and if it doesn't, its friends will. So,
Yeah.
man, it's such a screw up. But yeah, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, I don't know. Sorry, guys. We're trying to keep this upbeat, but there's certain things that just rustle my jimmies beyond all recognition.
Yeah, and on that, in any case, um, any news on the firearm march?
No, I've not heard any news. Have you?
I haven't. That's why I was really
Um,
curious.
I'm gonna.
Like, I follow Goza, and I haven't seen anything. Like, there was mention of it, but there hasn't been. Oh,
So,
actually,
mm,
on their Facebook page, on their banner, it says the 28th and 29th of March. Oh
mhm.
no, that's a firearms festival. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, they're not saying anything
Okay.
about
Well,
a
so
march.
if any of you, I think Duma knew something about it, but if any of you are with Goza or any sort of know about this firearms march, which is for gang, basically our police minister, in his infinite wisdom, has finally come down to what we always knew he wanted, in that he wants no private firearm ownership for citizens in South Africa. Um,
Especially for self-defense.
yeah. Good luck with that. So, I mean, we're not like America where they argue what type of guns they want. I mean, look, I think actually a lot of Democrats would love South Africa because we have like Bernie Sanders everything. Like housing
Yeah,
is a human right, medical is a human right.
it's a wet
We're
dream
about,
to
yeah,
Bernie
yeah,
Sanders, dude.
we're about to ban firearms for everyone. Like it's just. And by the way, guys, when I say housing is a human right, it's like it is in the Constitution. And I don't mean that in a malicious way. I would love to snap my fingers and let every fucking a person down on their luck have a small enough, decent enough house and some health care. But the problem is, just because you make something, declare it a human right and law, doesn't mean it ignores the laws of the universe in reality and makes that possible as a human right. Like it's not possible.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. So when I say that, I don't mean it sardonically, like I just fuck
It's
poor people who can't have
it's like a
houses
lot
and
of
everything.
policies. Like it sounds very like it sounds like it's for the good of the people, but
Mm.
in practice it never is. Like the minimum wage sounds cool.
Yeah, it does.
Theoretically, it's like, yeah, people are going to earn more money. But in fact, of the people that are currently earning money, only half of them are going to earn more money because the other half get fired because they
Mm.
cannot be afforded to they can't afford
Or you
to
keep
keep
people
them.
on and everybody's hours get slashed or something.
Yeah.
Because
So
as here's the dirty secret, guys. Unlike what DuckTales told you, business owners are not diving into a giant Scrooge McDuck money
yeah.
bin of gold coins. They're not. Their margins are so much thinner than you realize. And just,
And
yeah,
not just that, when they have extra money, you want them to be able to employ more people, not get rid of more people.
exactly.
So, any predictions for the budget speech? I think that's this week.
Yeah, so there's something about wanting us to pay a once off transitional tax. What do you think of that?
I think that's fucking bullshit.
Well, I think all tax is bullshit. Hashtag taxation is theft. But that one is particular bullshit, and I would like it to happen. Honestly, I would. I want it to happen. I want old Tito to push everyone so far that a full on tax revolt happens. Just like with e-tolls where you can't put all of us in jail. I want a full on that. This is. I'm not even kidding, guys. I'm not saying this for in community. What I want now at this point in South Africa, full on tax revolt, full fucking on tax revolt.
Yeah, and so do I. But how do we do it? That's the question, right?
Yeah,
It's easier for me, that's a business owner, I can tell my accountants to not pay my tax.
yeah. It's not so
Or
easy for somebody who works for a
someone
company.
suggested something a while back which made a lot of sense, and it's not really a tax revolt, but it is a tax revolt, and that essentially is saying, well, instead of paying your tax every month, you wait until the last day of the year that you need to pay your tax,
Uh
and
huh.
only pay it on that day, because then what that does is it doesn't give revenue to the government until like the very last day
Yeah, so it
of
forces him into a
of the tax year.
stranglehold.
Um, So, I mean, you could do that, and technically that's within the law because you just have to pay your yearly taxes. You can wait till right at the end to pay your tax. So that is something I think that could work. But majority of people that are working for big corporates like the banks or whatever, big corporates, um, those corporates,
Like if you work at like
how do you
Momentum.
convince your bosses that they need to withhold your tax? Because you have no control of that tax being paid.
Exactly. Like your average office worker at Momentum or something or Investec isn't in control of that.
Yeah. Um,
But I think it's
so
a discussion worth having. We can at least try discuss possible things, like you said, to because I would like a full on tax law to just be
yeah,
like, you know
but
what, fuck it.
these big corporates are so scared of the state, they never say anything bad about the state. Like, it goes back to feeding the crocodile. It's the same
Yeah,
thing. They know it's going to put them in shit, but they don't stand up or say anything about it. It's just bullshit.
yeah. I don't know, dude. It's as frustrating for me as it is for you. Like it's just yeah.
So, look, if we do have a tax increase on VAT, I'm not opposed to that. Um, I feel like VAT ensures pretty much everyone contributes,
Right.
because it's very difficult to the very small amounts of taxpayers to put the burden on us, where we could put the burden on everyone. And I know it sounds harsh, but it makes
Harsh
sense to
times
me.
harsh times call for
Yeah.
somewhat
And to
harsh.
be fair, we do have a pretty low VAT percentage compared to other countries. I think
And
we,
also, to be fair, as given our progressive, like, I mean, I know I didn't pay anywhere near as much tax as you, but even in my position as a software engineer, and I make a fair amount of money. Like when I think about how much tax, what a small percentage of the employed base paid, it's actually painful to think about it.
Yeah, dude, and I don't think people can be squeezed much more, to be
Yeah.
honest. Um, so I'm very interested to see what the budget speech is going to say, but uh, obviously, hopeful me is hearing stuff like we should get rid of our SOEs that aren't making money. We should leave that to the private sector. Those type of things would be nice to hear, but I'm pretty sure we're going to hear about some more bailouts
Of
for the
course.
SOEs. Not just that, this new sovereign wealth fund, I'm
Uh,
very curious as to how this is going to be funded because you want to just ruin us even more by having a sovereign wealth fund, but you don't have
uh,
money for anything,
uh,
but you want us to
okay.
add, we have to allocate money to that. Makes no frickin' sense. Also, they should legalize marijuana and start getting tax from that.
Yeah.
Um, that's a good one that they could probably do.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah.
So yeah, guys, next week we'll know how much poorer we will all be.
That's
Um,
not so fun to think about, but
yeah,
yeah, that's that. And fuck, I don't think I even have anything else on South African politics at the moment.
yeah, dude. I
Uh,
think this feels like it was a long episode.
it
I'm
was,
not quite sure, but we always have a long episode.
yeah, like
No one's complained about it yet.
it's too tone for some of the episodes that we should have had that are skipping. I don't think you. I think you discussed enough tech. I don't have any tech related stuff as of yet to discuss, except for apparently labs are synthesizing a protein based cure of sorry not cure vaccine for corona. Um, so
Okay.
yeah, there's hope on the horizon there.
Don't you feel like the world needs some pandemic? Let me ask you this:
It's funny.
do
Every
you
100 years
do
we
you
have an
think
outbreak.
we are overpopulated as
Yes
the
and
world as a
no. Yes and no. Okay.
okay?
Firstly, it's funny how we always have like these sort of out because the Spanish flu was the huge outbreak towards the end of the First World War and after it, 1920. Like if you look back every 100 years, like almost clockwork or so, we have some massive pestilence issue, disease issue that wipes a bunch of us. Yes and no. I'll quantify that. Yes, in that in some concentrated, localized areas we're overpopulated. But local maximums and global maximums are two different things. And as much as I hate saying this, and I really hate saying this, I actually agree with my rival Elon Musk when I say, based on the technologies we are unlocking, not only will the planet become more capable of supporting more people, but we might actually be suffering from population collapse because when we're shipping people off to other planets. So, provided our current rate doesn't get much more logarithmically higher, I think that we'll be fine because we are unlocking technologies that enables the planet to sustain more people.
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
But
makes
again,
sense.
that's based on if we don't wildly, even greatly increase our reproduction, which we're not actually. Most developed parts of the world, first and second world, most countries, you have one or two kids these days. Like most people are maybe one of three, whereas our parents used to be like one of five or seven.
Yeah, yeah. Times have changed.
It's, yeah,
I know at least my family history that like 5 kids was like the minimum. You
yeah,
need to
same
have
with mine.
minimum 5 kids. Uh, and that's obviously changing now. Um, but also we are living longer, so
Which makes us
yeah,
less inclined to have kids for a while as well.
yeah,
So I think that's why I say yes and no. Yes, technically in local maximums, but in global maximums, I kind of question, does this take into account the general slowdown in the number of kids people are having, or the number of people who flat out don't want kids? Does this take into account the fact that even in areas that aren't developed, where they tend to have more kids, they still die quite a lot as well? So,
Yeah.
like, I I say no in that, because I know the technologies we're unlocking, and because I haven't seen enough evidence that the slowdown isn't slow enough. Like, I question whether we actually are too populated on the planet. But apparently, bio warfare says yes, we are, and it happens every 100 years. So there we go.
Yeah, maybe that's just the Earth cleansing itself.
Yeah,
See, there's no
yeah.
such thing as, or maybe there is such thing as global warming. It's just the Earth gets rid of a bunch of us when it gets too much.
Kids too much. Yeah. Uh, yeah, I still love that one Glacier Park picture. I think Jerem tweeted it. It's like enjoy the glaciers in 2020. They'll be gone, and they had to change that sign because there's still glaciers there.
Yeah.
That was amazing. I was like, yeah. As it turns out, so gang. This is where I pull my science credit out. I have done research science, and when you build complex mathematical models, the more complex it is, the more wrong you can be on a grand scale. And climate predictions are, yeah, pretty difficult with
Especially looking
complex
so far in
models.
the future. If you are, it's like if you have two people walking in a straight line, dude. Like if one is just a few degrees off,
Hmm.
um,
You
that
won't see it
person
now, but
over time,
five.
that person's way off course.
Yeah,
And it's the same with math, dude. Like if it's not done right,
and this
perfectly, and there's so many variables involved in any case. Like you can never
exactly.
predict all the variables.
And this
Um,
isn't to say, oh, there's actually no such thing. Obviously, I'm what you call a
but
climate realist, and I'm like, yes, obviously we are having effect. The question is, how do we deal with it without living like we live in the
but I think
1700s?
I think we're also forgetting that we are actually being cleaner and cleaner every year anyway.
Exactly. The
I think
United States has
yeah,
reduced through like natural gas has reduced its carbon footprint so insanely high in such a few amount of years. It's like, wow, this is actually impressive.
yeah, exactly. And I think pretty much the whole world is doing it because also because of efficiency, right?
Yeah.
Some things are just not efficient, and
As it turns out,
we as human beings build things to be more efficient over time because we learn from our mistakes.
yeah.
So,
As it turns out, we don't want to live in like sooty, coal-covered power plant areas. Like we don't want to. We will naturally change it. Like I say, climate realist. And that, I'm like, guys, okay, I get it. We have an effect, but those of you being alarmists and all that are not helpful. Let's look at this realistically. Let's look at it, how much. Remember, change is also part of the natural order of our planet. Let's look at it realistically. How can we save things? Let's look into technologies around things like seawalls, geoengineering, and all that, and just calm it down, guys.
one time, bro.
Yeah,
One time. Everyone needs to calm the fuck down.
yeah. Uh,
Because yeah, putting taxes on carbon footprints
oh my
isn't gonna help
gosh.
shit. It's just gonna take more money away from you and me, and that is not gonna stop me from using my lights in my house or anything like that. Because guess what? I fucking need them.
Yeah,
So you just putting a tax so that you can make money off me.
exactly. I'm not going to go back to having like 500 candles slash fire hazards in my house. Like that's just not a thing.
And in any case, I know people do things in any case to reduce electricity usage, because they don't want to pay so much fucking money for electricity.
Yeah, there's a
So,
pure
so
economic
people,
incentive to
so
it.
people in any case buy stuff like LED globes now because the globes are a little bit more expensive, but over time they save you a lot of money because they run longer and they use a lot less electricity. Like
Exactly.
people do that anyway. Man, people must just freaking get over themselves, man.
It's just yeah.
It's done. I think, yeah, too much ranting in this episode, but
Yeah, this is our decompression episode. But yeah,
yeah,
I think run the gamut of things. This is gonna be like a bumper long episode, but fuck it, we'll cut it together and drop it soon enough. Anything else you wanna point out there?
Dude, no, I think that's it for this week. Just a
Yeah.
shout out to all the listeners, of course.
Yeah, shout out to listeners. Shout out to the people on Discord channel. Also, I the other day I was bored and I actually Googled the show because we use a podcast propagation tool, Libsyn for now, and the show shows up in a bunch of places. There was a podcast hosting app called I think Owltail, and somebody actually reviewed our podcast. It gave it 5 stars. It's like funny and
Nice.
educational. So there was somebody named Ivy Dial. So to Ivy Dial and everybody who likes the podcast on YouTube and on SoundCloud and everything, thank you, and we appreciate that. We really do. You think we don't notice these things, but we do. So thank you.
Yeah, dude.
All right.
Awesome. Thanks
I
for the
was
chat.
Yeah, thanks as always. I will see you next week. Be safe, people. Don't do anything we wouldn't do, and I think that's it.
But if you do, send pictures.
Yes.
Cool. Cheers, dude.
Cheers, bud.